So if you're just joining me off of the live radio show, I didn't have a chance to get to this last week. I talked about touchscreens and how they are taking over the universe. And for some reason, we're still all buying them. And according to a new study, this comes by way of JD Power, people actually like them the least, and yet we're buying them the most. This is a weird thing here. I called it on the show an automotive Stockholm syndrome. And I want to do this bonus episode to talk about that in more depth, because there's some really interesting insights that have been revealed in this JD Power study that they did. Now, of course, if you're just jumping on here on the bonus show, you can catch this show live on the radio every single weekend, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. on my flagship station, AM 1460, The Answer. But we air several times throughout the weekend on various other stations, 91.7 KLZR, 100.7 The Word. We are slowly but surely taking over the airwaves of Southern Colorado. Now, I do need your help to also take over the internet. That is slightly harder than taking over local radio, I think. There's a little bit of a bigger barrier of entry there. And if you're catching this maybe on Spotify, on Facebook, jump over to the YouTube page for me and go subscribe to it. A lot of folks listen on Spotify, but don't come over to YouTube at all. And that's okay. Listen where it's convenient for you. But just do me a favor. Jump over to the YouTube real quick. Look up at Automotive ADHD Show on YouTube and give it a subscription, because we are this close to getting the channel monetized. Yeah, I mean, that's not the whole reason, obviously. Definitely not the whole reason, but we're very close. So go ahead and check it out there. YouTube again, at Automotive ADHD Show. And while you're at it, throw it 6 stars on Spotify too, if I can be so bold to ask that of you. Now, with JD Power's press release here, talking about this study, they say, quote, fewer physical vehicle controls and more problematic touchscreens make infotainment systems a modern, quote, catch-all drawer, JD Power finds. And there's a lot of issues here to unpack and see with this. But what they did, and I'll kind of skim through this here, and they say, and I'll read a portion of it here for you, quote, while customers do find larger touchscreens visually appealing, their functionality within the vehicle is an increasing source of frustration, end quote. And that's from Frank Hanley, Senior Director of Automotive Benchmarking at JD Power. He goes on to say, quote, customers are having to tap and swipe through multiple screens to access key vehicle functions like climate settings and built-in garage door openers. Owners find these things to be overly complicated and too distracting to use while driving. By retaining dedicated physical controls for some of these interactions, automakers can alleviate pain points and simplify the overall customer experience. I agree, Mr. JD Power. It's not his name, but I agree. And what they found is that people aren't appreciating the touchscreen experience. They are not. And I've talked about this before. I've talked about over the years now of doing this show, various studies, and one that comes to mind where they did an A and B comparison between a older, I think it was a Volvo V70 with physical buttons versus a newer Volvo with touchscreen. And with that touchscreen, they found that the interactions to accomplish the same tasks took more time than the Volvo with physical buttons. And in doing so, when something takes more time, that for one is a problem. But here's the big kicker with that. What they found was that while the touchscreen took more time, it also took people's eyes off of the road. And that is a big problem, because the difference was with the physical buttons, it took less time, which is already better, but people were able to maintain eye contact on the road and mostly feel those buttons out by either muscle memory or touch, meaning they were able to accomplish the same task in a shorter amount of time without removing their eyes from the road. The touchscreen, it was longer, and you had to look away from the road. And that's a big problem right there. That is a huge problem right there. And we've had this debate multiple times on my show. We have had it, and it keeps coming up. And the problem is that touchscreens are not better. They are worse. They are worse in every metric. And the only metric they're maybe doing better in is that of manufacturing cost. And you might say, gee, Matt, how is it cheaper to put that expensive touchscreen in there than it is to do all these buttons? Well, manufacturers are finding that they can, like look at a newer car that's all touchscreen, right? Think Mercedes, which these huge sweeping touchscreens across the dashboards now. And think back to cars from 10, 15 years ago. Think about poverty buttons. Are you familiar with poverty buttons? They're the unmarked buttons for the features you didn't pay for on that car, right? Come on, my Subaru's got poverty buttons. That's actually funny because that car has some poverty buttons on it that are blanked off that even on like the top trim version of the car don't have anything in there. I don't know what Subaru is doing with that. It's fake buttons. Why not? The thing with a touchscreen is you don't have to have, and it's not that the actual poverty button. I'm saying that as a term. Is that the official term now? I don't know. We'll make it the term. It's not that those actually cost money. It's just that to have different options on different cars, you have to have various different sets of buttons, some blanked off, some not. Some have buttons installed. Those buttons are physical switches. They require physical installation. That's another step in the manufacturing process. That's another item which must be manufactured. And then that's another item they need to keep track of when they're optioning out a different car. Okay, this one doesn't have this option. It's on the line. It gets these buttons. This one's also on the line, but in the assembly line, that is. But this one gets all these buttons, and then they assemble the car, right? When you have the touchscreen and you have all the controls be touchscreen based, they don't have to do any of that. They can do it purely through software. They can say every single car gets the same. I punched that mic again. I've talked in front of a microphone for years, and I'm great at hitting it at like every show in some way. Anyway, I digress. Every single car gets a touchscreen. Boom, same assembly process, same touchscreen. Drop it in there. Then, as this car comes along, it doesn't have heated seats. This one does have a heated steering wheel. They've got codes. They follow that in their manufacturing process. And boop, they flash the computer, do whatever they need to do on the software level. And now that car only has access in the touchscreen to what it has. Right? So from a manufacturing standpoint, that works. That makes sense. I see why manufacturers would want to do that. I understand the reasoning and the cost incentive to doing that. Because again, one little button's not going to cost a lot. It might be a few cents to the manufacturer. But over a big enough scale and having to rework their logistical line, their assembly line, to accommodate different options and different buttons in different blanked off areas, there's, sure, have they done it for years? Have they done it for as long as we've had cars? Yes, they have. But they're now seeing that as, okay, this is a way we can improve our process. We can speed things up. We can make things better. So doing the touchscreens makes sense from a manufacturer's standpoint. I get that. And in a way, it's simpler and cheaper, even though perhaps that single touchscreen unit is more expensive on the surface, right? So I understand that reasoning for it. I also understand that manufacturers, BMW, want to be able to provide subscriptions to things. Oh, gosh. And I heard that. Yeah, there was again. I heard it twice. It was the groan, the collective groan from you, the audience, right? We all hate touchscreens in cars. I have not met a single person. I said touchscreens. Freudian slip there. We all hate subscriptions in cars. And I have not met a single person who has said, gee, I really like this subscription idea. I bought these heated seats in my car, but I don't always like them, so I feel like paying for them sometimes and not paying for them at other times. No one has ever said that. And even if you think on the surface, well, that kind of makes sense. If you don't need it, you don't have to pay for it. Well, the fact is you already paid for it. Was the car cheaper because you had a subscription for heated seats? No. You still paid for the hardware of the heated seats. You're just behind an artificial paywall now that says, I'm going to not use my heated seats, and when I want them, I have to pay for them. It's bogus. It's BS. That's what it is. It is complete and utter BS. And touchscreens provide manufacturers an easy way to enable subscriptions for stuff. Because same reason behind having different models and different trims of cars on the assembly line, you can not have a button in there. And then you can go in the settings and say, I want to subscribe to the heated steering wheel this month. Click, 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 go to it. And then boom, oh, hey, now you have a heated steering wheel button in the infotainment system somewhere, right? It's dynamic. Manufacturers like that sort of thing. And I think it's a problem. And it turns out, so does everyone else. Wow. And J.D. Power in this study, by the way, this is part of a bigger study. So it wasn't just about touchscreens. This is part of their U.S. initial quality study, which is now in its 39th year. They've been doing this for almost 40 years, and it's based on responses from 92,694 car buyers of new 2025 model year vehicles. And they were surveyed after 90 days of ownership. And again, that touchscreen was a big sticking point. People are not a fan of them. I've explained how in my Subaru, I find it very frustrating, especially on the bumpy roads out here in Colorado Springs, because no one builds a good road out here. Also because we have winters, which ruin the good roads that do get built, if there are any. And I'll be driving around trying to fish for something, and I'm jumping over potholes and I mean, huge Grand Canyon size cracks in the road, and I'm trying to like hit a button and my finger's bouncing around on the screen. So I have to like brace my hand on the side of the screen, then touch the buttons I want, which fine. Yeah, it's not that much harder. But if I have a physical button or a physical knob, even better. I love knobs. Don't take that out of context. But a physical knob is even better because I can grab it. I can stabilize my hand on it on the bumpy road, and I can turn it. I can feel the clicks. I can feel the detents as I turn that heater control up. My Subaru has physical buttons that turn the temperature up and down next to the screen, but then any other HVAC control is touchscreen based. You press a button, opens up a menu. Then you have the HVAC menu. You got these big sliders to turn the HVAC temperature up and down, which is kind of pointless because you still have buttons for that part at least. And then, I want recirc on, I want AC on, I want to turn the fan speed up. All of that is touchscreen based. And it frustrates me. Not only that, recently, one of the other frustrations I've had with it is that it's become laggy in the past probably month or so, especially after starting the car. Start the car. I want the HVAC on now. It is hot. It is a sweltering, it's a super hot day. It's 102 degrees, whatever. I want that HVAC running right now. And turn it on. The whole screen's frozen for like 2 minutes. And it's very frustrating. And it's not even a short amount of time. Sometimes it varies, but sometimes it's been like 2 minutes. The screen's frozen, doesn't do anything. Or it comes up to the home screen, and then I want to go to the HVAC thing. I go to the HVAC menu, and I press in the settings I want, and nothing happens for another 60 seconds. Nothing. Then 60 seconds later, I hear the relay click under the dash, then the blower motor comes on, then the AC comes up. And I know the tech bros are like, well, obviously it's software and it's doing all this stuff in the background. You're expecting too much of it. People have said that. I've seen that argument on the internet before in various other places that, well, yeah, no duh. That's why it's because tech bros and people in the know understand what's going on in the background. And they say that's obvious. You should expect that. There's all these different processes happening in software in the background. Well, I don't care what the reason for it is. I don't even care if it's a good reason. You know what doesn't do it? What doesn't do it? My 20-year-old Honda doesn't do it. My near 40-year-old Corolla doesn't do it. My 30-year-old Jeep doesn't do it. Heck, my 12-year-old Tacoma doesn't do it. It just works. So even though the tech bros like to say, well, here's the reason for it, and you should temper your expectations. Understand what's going on in the background. I don't care what's going on in the background because all these other ones didn't do it. So we're stepping into a more advanced technology with more software overhead that's supposedly better. You can see my air quotes if you're watching the video. But it's not better. It's not. And this J.D. Power study here proves that. Now, some of the other key findings I do want to point out just because they are interesting. And I'll go through their list here. Premium vehicles have more defects than mass market counterparts. They say while design-related issues are equal between mass market and premium vehicles, defect/malfunction-related issues are more prevalent on premium issues. Sounds like someone talked to a BMW owner or a Mercedes owner. Exterior is the largest area of discrepancy, with premium vehicles averaging 4.2 more problems than mass market vehicles, mostly driven by those from non-traditional automakers. Ooh, is that a jab at Tesla? I think that was a jab at Tesla. Another finding here, plug-in hybrid vehicles have the most problems. They say, quote, for the first time, plug-in hybrid vehicles on average have more problems than their battery electric counterparts. Gasoline and hybrid vehicles have fewer problems than plug-in hybrids and battery electric vehicles. That's interesting. They say the improvement in battery electric vehicles is driven by a 62, well, they're using some statistics here, improvement for 62 PP100. There's your statistic number. Improvement for Tesla. All right. Now, the other one here, we'll go through just a few more of these. Problematic launches and late year changeovers. New model launches account for the highest number of problems since the study was redesigned in 2020 compared with previous problems for carryover models. Of the 18 new models launched this year, only 2 have fewer problems than their respective segment average. And they go on to say, quote, typically problems for new launches are balanced, with some being successful and others having issues. This year, however, new launches are notably more problematic. Gee, so you buy a new car and it doesn't work. You see this a lot. You see it a lot on internet forums. Stuff gets amplified on internet forums. People have a problem and then people start, it gets more, things get amplified with the aid of media and the internet. But you see this a lot. I'm on various different threads, for whether that's forums for various cars I own, but also threads for cars I don't own. And I browse them regularly just to kind of get an idea of what people are thinking. Even I'm on like a great example. I'm on the Corvette forum and I don't own a Corvette. I'm on the GR86 forum and I don't own a GR86. I've got the AE86 over there, not the same car. And I like being on these different places because I get to see, as an automotive talk show host, I get to see what people are saying about cars, what cars they own. And I see this a lot. Bought a brand new car. There was one on the Tacoma forum. Now, I do own a Tacoma, so that makes sense. And this guy goes, brand new Tacoma, 600 miles in. There was a fault with the wiring harness, which requires a complete wiring harness replacement. And they're going to tear out the entire cab of the vehicle, basically, tear the whole thing apart, replace the harness, and put it back together. And he's stuck driving a Camry right now as the dealer loaner vehicle. By the way, if you're a dealership and someone has a problem like that early on in a sale and they bought a Tacoma, you should make a Tacoma the loaner vehicle. You have them. You got plenty of them. There's no reason. If I bought a Tacoma, I bought it because I needed a Tacoma. I maybe needed to go off-road a little bit. Maybe I needed to haul some smaller items. Nothing crazy. But I bought it because I needed that space and that functionality. So giving me a Camry or a Corolla as a loaner vehicle is kind of dumb, and I see that all the time. I think dealers should, especially when it's an early issue like this. 600 miles in, big problem. Obviously covered under warranty, but you're seeing that a lot here. Anyway, the highest ranking brand, by the way, and we'll wrap this up here. Highest ranking brand overall in initial quality is Lexus. Yeah, now that is not surprising. It's a Toyota product and they do great. Now Jaguar is among the higher ranking premium brands, which I don't believe that at all. I think someone paid off JD Power for that one. I don't buy that 1 second because Jaguar doesn't even make cars and sell them practically. So how can they be high ranking in the premium brands if they don't even have a car to sell? Anyway, second highest as Jaguar second and third highest in terms of initial quality is Genesis, Hyundai's premium brand. I find that fascinating. And then among the mass market brands, their study finds that Nissan ranks the highest, with Hyundai in second and Chevrolet in third. That's a curveball right there. Didn't expect that. Nissan ranking number one. That's a funny way to say Toyota. I'm pretty sure I heard Toyota there. I don't know why they spelled that Nissan, but I think they mean Toyota. Anyway, so there's, a number of things that this study found. And again, I think the key factor here really being that touchscreens. That was kind of the big ticket item here. Another item, and we'll wrap things up on this, is cup holders. Apparently the study found people really have problems with cup holders. So the key takeaways of the study are people hate touchscreens and people don't like the way cup holders are being handled in cars right now. Now think about this. We have come such a long way with cup holders, even in the past decade, right? No one thinks about automotive innovations as being in the cup holder realm, but take even 2 decades ago. My S2000, yes, it's a low-volume sports car, has the worst cup holder situation in the world. It's terrible. It's a little flip-out thing that breaks. They're always broken. And I had to get a whole nother center console panel that didn't have a broken one. And a little plastic thing that pops up, and you can put your cup in there. And by put your cup in there, I mean maybe a skinny bottle of water. But the problem is when you put the bottle of water in there, it's directly in line with your shifter. So it blocks your shifter. So you have to like reach around the bottle when you're shifting, and it's very awkward and makes it very easy to miss a gear. Alternatively, you don't get anything. That's it. That's all you get, right? And you might say, yeah, whatever, Matt. It's a low volume sports car. All right, well, let's take a look back. My 92 Jeep Wrangler, 0 cup holders in that. Well, that's not true. I guess it technically had a plastic cup holder that was sort of integrated in there, but it really was hardly anything. Now let's look over here at this 86 Corolla, 0. It's not even that the cup holders are bad. It legitimately does not have any cup holders. Now my Subaru, meanwhile, let's jump forward, 2024 VBWRX. You can see it behind me here. And that Subaru has 2 cup holders in the center console, and they are not very good. They are not very good, especially when you consider most people have water bottles like this. More people are using reusable stainless steel water bottles than ever, okay? And this one, what brand is it? I don't even care what brand these are. I have a few of them. I think it's Hydro Flask. Yeah, there it is, Hydro Flask. And by the way, I do believe these are frankly overpriced because they charge like $50 for this, and there's no way looking at this made in China label that this is worth $50. But anyway, it is a good water bottle. Keeps stuff cold for a long time, but it's big. Doesn't fit in any cup holders I have. None of my cars fit this bottle. And it's not even that big. And this is not even like the crazy Stanley. I'm not up on the Stanley trend, which is probably actually a good thing because I think the Stanley trend has like come and then gone already. But people have these big Stanley cups and things, and those certainly aren't fitting anywhere. Also, my Subaru's cup holders are bad enough that this doesn't fit at all, not even close. And then it has cup holders in the doors, which are bigger, still doesn't fit this. The one thing that I have found, remarkably, that fits perfectly in the cup holders in my Subaru is this MAP gas torch. This fits perfectly in the cup holders in the console, like to a T. I mean, it was like it was meant for this. And anyway, so I'm playing with the blowtorch now. So maybe they were thinking of what like potential Subaru drivers would do with the blowtorch in the front seat of the car. Yeah, I'm going to leave that up to you as to what that is for. So that seems more like a Volvo 240 type of owner behavior. There's only like 2 types of Volvo owners: the original owner and then the crackhead who buys it afterwards. So anyway, that's one thing. Big frustration that consumers reported is cup holders. Yes, we have more of them than ever, but people's tastes in what they're putting in those cup holders has changed drastically, and none of the auto manufacturers are catching up with that. Even with stuff that's designed to be more outdoorsy, you're finding even with your Jeeps and things like that, you're still having a hard time squeezing one of these big fat water bottles in there. Everyone's got these. Why? Because they work great. They're fantastic. You just can't put them anywhere. So my favorite place to put that water bottle is on the back floor, and then it rolls around and clunks against my seat. And sometimes if you brake just hard enough, it'll roll under the seat, out, and then get stuck under your brake pedal. Only the real OGs know that that's how you store one of these water bottles. So it goes under your brake pedal. So anyway, hey, I want to thank you for joining me on this bonus edition of the show. And let me know your thoughts. Go ahead. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can also comment on Spotify now, which is really cool. If you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, maybe you're catching it on Facebook. Let me know your thoughts about the touchscreens. I know we've talked about that topic before, but I want to hear you sound off and give me your opinion. And also, what else do you think about new cars in general? Maybe your experience with newer vehicles. Have you had issues with them? Have there been problems with them? How much do you hate the touchscreens in them, or the fact that you can't put these, what are now normal sized water bottles in them? Let me know. Facebook.com/Automotive ADHD. Remember to subscribe to the show as well on YouTube and give it a rating on Spotify. 6 stars, blow it up, and catch it every week on the radio. Several great radio stations here in Southern Colorado. I'll talk to you next week right here.